In this video, we're going to show you how to build a job board. This will be all built without writing a single line of code. We're going to discuss briefly what functionality we're looking for and how we're going to go about building it. So first, let's discuss the functionality. We are going to have two different portals in our app. We're going to have a company's portal. This portal will have a sign up page where the admin can sign up as the company owner. There will be a page for them to post any open positions within that company. Once positions are applied to, they'll be able to review the applications and also automate some flows as well as keep track of the application status. The second portal we're going to have is going to be for the candidates. The candidates will be able to sign up as a candidate, and once they sign up and log in, they'll browse any open available positions. They can apply, and once applied, they can see and review all of their applications. That's the general overview of what we're looking to build. Now let's discuss a little bit of how it's going to look ultimately once fully built. We're going to start with a basic landing page, nothing too fancy, just something to introduce our job board. The candidates will be able to apply by clicking sign up, and any company can sign up as a company by clicking on the bottom where it says sign up as company. If somebody already has an account, they'll be able to just click log in, and depending on who they are and which role they belong to, they'll be routed to that page. So assuming we log in as a candidate, you'll be able to see all of the open available positions. Once the candidate sees the position he's looking to apply to, he can click on the details and fill out the application, which will automatically submit it. He could then click on My Applications and we'll have a page where he can monitor all of his applications and their status. Now, from the admin perspective, the admin will be able to log in, see all of their open jobs, click on the details to see more information and more details about each candidate. They'll also be able to add a new job, and the new job will automatically be assigned to their company. This is going to be part one of a several part series. We're going to first build out the basics, and in the next video, we'll go over more details of using a lot more of the advanced functionality. So let's dive right in and get started. Assuming you've already created an account, you'll be routed to the build.tadabase.io. This is the page where you'll be on to create your actual apps. If you haven't created an account yet, just feel free to go on Tadabase.io and click on sign up. It takes only a few seconds, put in some basic information, and you'll be routed to that same page. Now that we're on this page, let's just talk for a second about what you can do on this page and how the general builder layout is set up. On the right side of almost every page within the builder, you'll see some helpful documentation or videos to help you get started with whatever is specific to that page. So for example, on this page is going to be the video on how to get started. But in another page, it'll be the video, whatever it is that you're working on. So let's go ahead and get started, and we're going to choose to start from scratch. You can also, if you wish, start with a template. The template is basically any of those templates like we saw earlier on the templates page. This can give you a quick way to get started, but for the purposes of this video, we'll start from scratch. Here we'll put in the app name, which is we're going to be building a job board. So we'll call this app job board. And we can choose to add an icon. The icon is simply a way for us to keep track of our apps in a visual way. There's no other impact of choosing an icon. So we'll just choose here a building icon, and we're going to make it orange. We're going to go ahead and click create. Just to show you what that icon did, if you click back on the top left, it'll take you back to the apps page, and you can see here's our job board app. Now I can click on it to go back into the app. Okay, so now that we're actually back in the builder again, we can start building our job board app. But again, before we actually get started, I just want to discuss a few things about the actual builder so you can see how to work with the builder. So let's first understand what every item on this menu does so we can know how to navigate it. The first menu here is the data builder, and this is essentially where you set up the structure of your app. So for example, if you were building a job board in Excel spreadsheet, you would have your spreadsheet open, and in the first row, you would put in some information of what you want to track, for example, the job title or the description, and you would put all that inside the first field, first row as columns. When we do this inside of Tadabase, inside a database really for that matter, you would create a new table, then you would create them as fields instead of columns. And we'll go over how to do that, but that's what you do in the data builder. You can also choose to just upload your CSV, which will kind of create a lot of that stuff for you, or you can start from scratch, which is what we're going to do. The next step is once you've done your data builder, you'll go into the page builder where you actually can create the visual representation of your data, which with whatever way you want to do it. So for example, if you want to have a table, you would add a table to the page. And we'll go over this in detail, but this generally comes after you've created your data builder and you structured your actual data. Now the users is where you control anybody that has access to your app. These are users that will access your app on the front end, not the builder. So the builder, the only one that has access to that will be you. But if you want to have users and roles and set up who can access what, you would do that under the users tab. And the settings gives you many different settings relating to your app. I would definitely highly advise you go through it, and each of these pages will have a short 1 or 2 minute video that will explain all the settings with very nice visual representation of what's supposed to happen on each settings page. So let's go back now to the data builder, and we'll start with creating our first table. We'll call this table jobs, and you can see when you put in the name, it's going to make it a singular name in the second field, and this is for the purposes of making it easier to understand the data relationship. So I'll show you in a minute what that means. But also here we can add an icon. So here we'll use a wrench icon, for example. And you could add a description. We'll just click save. So now we've created our first table. This table only has one field in it. So again, like this spreadsheet analogy, imagine this was your first table called sheet 1. Suppose we renamed this to jobs. So we're essentially in the same place right now. So now inside this table, we'll add some more fields, and we'll add a long text field called description. Now on this first field, instead of calling it job name, I'm going to call it title. And we can add additional fields, and you can see all the different fields you can add all up here. And there's a variety of fields you can choose. Each one has an impact somewhere else. So you have to keep in mind, you have to have some planning in mind of which fields you want for where. So for example, an address field will let you choose an address and use the map component. Email field will let you use automated email messaging and things like that. So keep in mind of what type of field you want to add. The next field we're going to add for this is going to be the date field. And we're going to say start date. So, when this job is first available. Let's put in a currency field so we can keep track of the salary for this job. And we can keep adding any fields we want to add where the work is from. So we could call it work type is remote, local only. And when you add a radio field, which is what we just added, you can also choose to enable color badges. Color badges is just another way to make your options look a little prettier. So we're going to go ahead and choose those color options, and we're going to click save. So now we only have 5 fields. If you click on the records tab, you could see all the records that we actually have in the builder, which we don't have any. So we can add our first record here. Now, in general, the builder is not really designed to manage and manipulate data. It's really meant to build it out, and we should be using the page builder to actually work with our data. But for the purposes of this video, I'm going to add our first job title, called as Director of Marketing. For a start date, we'll choose today, and the salary will say $150,000. And this is a local only job. Now you can see we have our first record inside this table. So far so good, but we haven't really gotten to the good stuff yet. The purpose of this app is really going to be for people to log in and post any jobs their company has available at the time. So what we need to do next is create a new table, and we'll call this table companies. Whenever you create a new table, you'll see there's some options where you can add predefined fields. So for example, if you're adding a companies table, chances are you're going to want to add their company, their logo, their website, and some basic, information to be able to input a new company. These are just fields, and you can obviously change them. You can also do quick add if you wish, where you can just add field names here and choose the field type. It's just whichever way makes the most sense for you. So we're going to choose the predefined fields, and we'll click save. And you'll see when you do that, it automatically created all these different fields for us. Now where the excitement is when we actually have connections from one table to the other. So for example, each of these jobs is a job that belongs to a specific company. So now we get into connections, and working with connections can be a little bit tricky. I would very much recommend you watch the videos or read up about the connections. As you can see on the right side, this table connections video. But for now, we're going to just add a new connection field, and we're going to call this connection company. So now we're in the jobs table. We're adding a connection to the company, and we're going to choose the company's table. We're going to say one job connects to one company. And the display field will be which field you want to appear in the dropdown when you choose the actual company. So when you're adding a job, you're going to have an option for company name, and you're going to be able to choose which company that job belongs to. So we're going to go ahead and click save. And let's, for the purposes of our video, we're going to add a company in this page. So we're going to go into the records page, and we'll add a new company. The company we're going to add is going to be, let's just say we do Tadabase. And let's choose a logo for this company. We'll just input an address of our logo. The website is tadabase.io, and the industry will be technology. Put in a phone number. And in the address, the purposes of this address field is that it actually connects to Google and uses the autocomplete from Google. So if you start typing, you'll see you can actually see the full information, the full address. Behind the scenes, it also saves the latitude and longitude and everything like that. So we could use a map later and show all the different companies on one map. Now you can see the full information for this record. Inside the builder, the logos, the image field gets a little bit squished, but we can change that on the front end. Now, if we go back to the jobs, assuming that this first record here for the director of marketing belongs to Tadabase, we'll choose here, and we'll just start typing in Tadabase, and you'll see you'll be able to assign this job to this company, to Tadabase. So we've built out a basic shell of the data that we're trying to manage. So we have our jobs and our companies. Next step is we're going to go into the page builder. We're going to have to come back to this data builder soon, but just to show you a little bit of the page builder before we keep going with the data builder, we're going to create a new page. Now, the pages work under layout. So for example, if you click on default layout, you can see that in this layout, we have a menu and a page container. The page container is all the pages that are below this layout. So you can choose one menu which will appear on all the pages that are below here. So for example, we're going to do a new page. We'll call this companies, and we'll choose a default layout, and we'll add this to the default menu. And once we do that, you can choose all the different components that you want to add on this page. So there are two types of components. There's data components and system components. The data components are things that work with data. So anything where you're manipulating data from the data builder will be up here in the table, in the data components. For our case, we want to add a new table with all of the companies, and we're going to customize it. And here we choose which columns we want to add inside this table. So we want to choose, let's just assume we want to choose all of the different columns, and we'll call this companies. And let's go ahead and save. So I'm going to preview this page now by clicking on the preview icon on the top right. You can also click on preview page on the bottom. Now, all the pages have the help menu on the side. If you want, you can choose to hide it by going to settings, and then under general settings, click on hide help window, and that will give you more space to work with. So back in the data builder, we have just added our company's data table. If we preview the page, it'll open up a new tab, and you can see we have our pages here, and we have our first company right inside of this page. Now, if you could recall, this company had the ability to connect to jobs, meaning each job is assigned to a specific company. So technically, we can go into the company's data table, go to links, and add a record details page. And let me save that and show you what that actually does. So I'm going to refresh this page now. And now it added a new details link here. If I click on it, it's going to open up and show me all the details about this company. Inside this page, we can show more information of everything that's connected to this page, meaning we're on the Tadabase page. So we want to see all the jobs that belong to Tadabase. So inside the details component page, I just went inside the details component page. I'm going to add a new row. And here I'm going to add a new table, and I'm going to choose records connected to this page. So I want to see all the jobs that are connected to the company. And I'm going to do customize, put in all the information, and go ahead and click save. Let me refresh this page, and now you can see that for this company, we have one job listing. So I'm not so excited about the way this page looks. It looks a little messy. Maybe we can organize it a little bit better. So I'm going to go back into the builder, and over here in the company's details component, this is the details about this company, really meaning any page will have this same structure. So now we're on the Tadabase page, but if you added another company, it would show this very similar structure. And we can actually make this look a little nicer. So we're going to shrink the columns. And I'm going to add a new column here, and we'll just divide up the data a little bit so we could have the address on the right side. Let's just say we put the contact details on the right side. So the website, and let's move the logo to the top. I'm going to remove company name, and I'll show you why in a second. But let's go ahead and save this. And now if we refresh our page, you can see it looks a little bit nicer. The logo looks a little funny to me. So I'm going to go in here, and under the logo, I'm going to hide the title. We don't need it to say logo and show the logo. So now it's a little bit better. Now, instead of it showing the company name, if you can recall, we just removed that. We can actually add it in here as an app variable. So I'm going to add a component and choose the HTML component. And here I'm going to do add field. I'm going to say company name. I'm going to format this to be centered and a heading of 3. Now this will be replaced with whatever the company name is of this page that we're on. So if I go back here and refresh it, you can see it shows Tadabase. So far, we haven't really spent much time talking about the page builder. We've sort of been building it out actually, but I just want to clarify and go over a few quick things about how the page builder works. So the page builder, you can add pages, and pages are going to be the parent level of a page. And within those pages, you can add any sort of components that you wish. So for example, we can create a new page called jobs, and we'll choose the same exact layout and add it to the default menu. Let me just close this add new component for a second. If we go back here, we have a new page of jobs, but you could tell on this companies page, we have a details page. In the jobs page, we don't have any details pages. So the details pages it's important to note, are automated, and there's no way for you to add those by yourself. It has to be added through a component. So for example, if inside the jobs page, inside jobs page, we'll add a jobs table. And again, you'll see there's still no details pages, no page nested below the jobs. But if we go into here and add a record details page, then it will give you the option to go into the details of that page. Now, if we refresh this page again, go into the jobs, you can see the list of jobs with the details page, which now shows you more information about this job. Within the actual pages, pages are divided into columns. So you can have rows, and the columns go inside the rows. So here you can see I can add a new row with a grid inside it. For example, if I do 4 plus 4 plus 4, you saw we did that right here, 4 plus 4 plus 4, which means the whole page is 12 rows, and we can add 3 columns by doing 4, 4, and 4 equals 12. That takes up the entire page. And within each of these components, each of these columns, we can add components, which is anything we'd want to add from here. So for example, inside the jobs page, if we want to add a form for the ability to add a new job, we can do that by just adding a component in here. And if we preview this page now, you'll see we have our jobs page and then a jobs form right below it, which only takes up 1/3 of the page. And you can customize this. You can delete a row or a column, you could expand it, or you could do whatever you wish. I'm going to go ahead and delete this for now. Just wanted to show you that as an example. And we're going now to go back to the builder and now start talking about actually working with users. To get started with users, we first have to understand what we're looking to accomplish. So we have companies and then jobs. Each company has multiple jobs, and we want to allow members of that company, for example, an HR or an admin, to be able to add jobs for their company. So let's get started by doing that. We're going to go into the users, and we're going to create a role. And we're going to create a new role for, we'll call them company admins, and another role for candidates. Now, the company admins are going to be the administrators who manage their company, and then the candidates are going to be those people applying for jobs within any of those companies. Next, we're going to allow users to sign up as either a candidate or a company. So inside the settings page, we have a sign up page. This sign up page is where you can allow users to sign up, and you could choose which information you want to ask of them. So we're going to ask for their name, their password, and their email. And here we're going to call it candidate sign up. This is going to be the title. Now we want that when somebody submits this form, no matter who they are, it should automatically assign them to the candidate role. So in the form rules, under record rules, and this is where you can set rules to be triggered every time a form is submitted. And we'll go over all the different options here, but for now we'll start with the record rules. And we're going to say the following. We're going to say, whenever this form is submitted, update this record and set the role to a custom value of candidates. So now, if we preview this page, every time somebody signs up using this page, it's automatically going to create them as a candidate. And we'll go ahead and create a test example. We'll create an email called a candidate. The name is going to be candidate. And the email is candidate@tadabase.io. They're going to sign up. Once they sign up, it routes them to the sign up page. We can actually route them anywhere we wish. Let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to say after the form is submitted, redirect them to another page. We want them to go to the jobs page. Okay, so now this is where they would end up, and now they can actually see more details in all the jobs and start applying for them. There are a few more steps we need to do to actually enable users to apply for jobs, but before we get to that, I'm going to log out of the candidate and go back into the builder, and now we're going to talk about the company admins. So now every job belongs to a company, as we discussed, and also users can belong to a company. So inside the users table, we need to create a connection. Let's say company. And we want that if this user is not a candidate, meaning if this user actually belongs to a specific company, they'll be able to choose which company they belong to. So we're creating a new field. And if you go to the records, you can see the only user we have now is a candidate. But if we were to add a new user, let's make him a Tadabase admin. And some basic info. We'll assign this person to the actual company admin's role, not the candidates. Now keep in mind, one user can be assigned to multiple roles. And here we're going to say this person is part of the Tadabase company. Now the reason we did this is we want that every time a Tadabase admin adds a job, it should automatically assign the job to that specific company that he works for. Meaning, if he works for Tadabase, he should only be able to add jobs for Tadabase. And we're not going to give him a choice. It'll be automated behind the scenes. So back in the page builder, we're going to add a new page called add job. We're going to set the layout to default layout. And let's add this to the menu as well. And here we're going to add a form with the jobs form. We're going to do quick add, which just basically adds all the fields on it. And now when we go to our page, you can see here's our jobs form. But the only issue is that it automatically added the company's field. We don't want it to allow them to choose the company. It should automatically choose it based on whoever they are. So let's give this a shot. If I log in now as the company admin, which I believe was admin@tadabase.io. And if I go to add a job, you could see that it allows me to add a job and I'll be able to choose the company. But suppose we had several companies, we don't want to allow them to choose the company. So let's just give this a shot for a second. We'll say, say the start date is the 1st of next month and salary is $85,000, just making up numbers. Go ahead and click save. If you go to the jobs, you can see now we have a second job called support rep for Tadabase. But if we had another company, that person would have been able to choose a different company, which is not a good idea. So we're going to create a rule that automates that behind the scenes. Inside this add a job form, we're going to remove that company field and we'll go to form rules and record rules and we'll add a new rule and we'll say update this record and set the company to logged in users field of company. So we're basically saying, look who this user is, which company does he belong to, and set that value automatically. So now if we click save and go back, refresh the page, add a new job, you can see at this time the company is gone, and now we'll add another job. Now if we go back to the jobs page, you can see that the actual company name was set for us automatically. Form rules are very, very powerful in setting up workflows and automation to make sure that people can only answer and choose options that are appropriate for them depending on who they are. So I highly advise looking through the form rules, understanding how record rules work. And we have a great video on that as well. If you go into the our support YouTube channel, you can see many different videos on how to work with every part of the app, especially with forms. So for example, display rules, validation rules, and so forth. Okay, great. So far we've added a way for us to manage the companies, all the jobs, as well as for company admins to add jobs. And we've even secured the company admins page, the jobs page, so non-admins can't see that to add new jobs. Now let's go ahead and log in again as the candidate. And let's go to the jobs page. Our next step is to allow a candidate to actually apply to a specific job. So we're logged in now. If you click on the profile, you can see that we're logged in now as candidate user. And suppose this candidate wants to apply for this support rep job. So now we need to add the functionality to be able to do that. And essentially what we're going to do is we're going to add some mechanism inside of the details page to see and to apply to the job. So let's go get started in doing that. Now, this gets a little bit tricky because we have to manage relationships between the user and the job. And the easiest way to do that would be to add a new table and call it, let's call it applications. And this application is going to connect to each job. So we have to have a connection to the job. I'm going to say job title. And it also connects to the user. So we're going to have another connection to the user. Let's call it candidate. This will connect to the users table. We can remove this first field. Every table has to have one field, which is why you'll always see one field automatically added when you create a new table. Last thing we'll do is add a date and time field to say, when this user applied. So now we need a way to automatically add a specific job and this user, as well as a date when he applies for a job. And instead of talking through it, let's actually do it so we can see it in real life. If you can recall, inside the job details page, which is right here under the jobs, the details page, we want to add a button that will allow users to apply for a job. So I want to add it on the side. I think it'll look nice right here on this right side of the page. And I'm going to add a new component inside the side. I'm going to say a form. Now, we need a form to insert a new application that's connected to this job. So now we're on a job called support rep. We want it to be that whenever we submit this form, it'll automatically, behind the scenes, connect it to this job. And we could do that by inserting a new record connected to this page's record. So insert a new application. And we're going to click on customize and we'll choose We won't choose any other fields. We'll just click save. So all we should see now when we refresh this page is a application form, save, and back to jobs. Let's customize this form a little bit more. We're going to remove the title from it and also hide the back to link. So now we don't want to see this and we don't want to see this. And if we refresh, you can see that. One more thing we probably want to do is change the save button to apply now. So let's change the button to, okay. Now it gives us an option to apply now. If I click on this button now, it lets me submit the application. And if we look at the builder, you could see in the applications, you could see that there is for this support rep job, there's a new application filed. But we don't know who the candidate was and we don't know when this happened. So back in the page builder, inside of this details page, under the form for applications, we're going to create some record rules. And we're going to say, sorry, not display rules. We want to do record rules. And we're going to say update this record and set the candidate to the logged in user, which is the auto logged user, which is whoever is logged in, and apply it on to the current date and time. Okay, so now if we refresh this page again and click apply now, if we look in the builder, you can see that now we saved which job this person applied to, who the person that applied is, and when this happened. You can see this time looks off. It's not 12:26 a.m. right now. And just keep in mind that you can always change the time zone inside the general settings of your app. I'm just going to keep this for now. Now back in the data builder one more time under the applications, I'm going to delete this old record. And let's go see what happens if I reapply to that same job. So I've already applied one time. I'm logged in as the candidate and I'm applying for this support rep job. If I click apply now and go back in the builder, you can see that I have two applications, which probably is a silly thing because one person shouldn't be able to apply to two jobs. So this is where we get into validation rules. If you go into the details page again, inside the form, we can add specific rules to block this kind of behavior. So we're going to say that add validation rules, and we're going to set that if the job is not unique and the candidate is not unique, to say you've already applied. Now this is different than some other unique validation because we want to make sure that the job and the candidate are not unique, meaning that if this candidate applied for a different job, it should still allow them to apply for this job, but only if the job and the candidate are not unique, then it should not allow them. So now if we click save and refresh the page, it's going to say you've already applied. This is great. So now we have a way for our users to actually apply for jobs. We have a way for our admins to see the jobs, to add jobs and see jobs. Next thing is we want our company admins to actually be able to see who applied for those jobs. So we're going to add another page. Let me shrink this. And we're going to add a new page called Our Jobs. Now this will be a page where the admin can see only jobs that belong to his or her company. So I'm going to go ahead and save this, and we'll add a new table with jobs. And we're going to add whatever fields we can. And also add a record details page. Let's go ahead and preview this. And here we can see a page that has all the different jobs. Now to prove what we're trying to do, we actually have to create another company. So I'm going to go ahead and log out and log back in as the admin. And let's go to our jobs page. So this should only show jobs that belong to the company this admin belongs to. So this admin belongs to Tadabase. It should show all the jobs that are Tadabase. So to do that, all the jobs here are Tadabase, but suppose we added another job. Let's just say we added another job from the builder. and we'll leave the company blank. When we go back here under the Our Jobs page, you'll see we can see all the jobs even though we're logged in now as a Tadabase admin. We should only see jobs that belong to Tadabase. So to do that, we have to create a filter on the actual table. Back inside the page builder, under Our Jobs, open up the Jobs table, and on the top left, you'll see Data Source. Here you can add filters, and we want the filter to be as follows. We want only show jobs where the company is connected to the logged in user's company. So each of these users, meaning right now we're logged in as admin, he's connected to Tadabase, so only show jobs that belong to Tadabase. And if we refresh the page, you can see that now we can only see Tadabase jobs. So now if we continue a little bit more, and remember we're logged in as the company admin, as the Tadabase admin, so we should see all of the applications that happen for each job. Now to make it a little bit easier to keep track of the applications, let's add a field so we can know how many applications each job has. And we'll do that back in the builder under the jobs. We'll add a new field, and we'll want the field to count. So we'll add a count field. We'll say total applications, and we want to count all the records from the applications. And now we're going to add that field again to this Our Jobs page. So keep in mind, when you add a new field in the data builder, it doesn't automatically add it in the pages. You have to manually add that back in. I'm going to say total applications. Let's go ahead and refresh this page. And you can see this job for the support rep has 2 applications. So our next objective is going to be to enable the admins of each company, in this case we're logged in as a Tadabase admin, to be able to see all the candidates that applied for each job. So this job, the support rep, has 2 candidates. We want to see a table here of all the applicants that applied to this job. And if we go back into the builder, we could do that by going to the details page of the page that we're just on, which is the details page of the Our Jobs page. And that's here, Our Jobs, details jobs page. And we're going to add a new row. Inside this row, we'll add a table, and we'll choose to add all the applications that are connected to this page. So there are connections and there are relations. And let's just take a second to go over what that means and the differences between them. If you go into the settings under the support and table connection graph, going to zoom in a little bit here, you can see that we have the applications table which connects to the user, and the applications table also connects to the jobs. So application directly connects to jobs, but jobs does not connect to user directly, meaning the applications keeps track of who applied to which job. So suppose we wanted to see in the details of a job, we wanted to see all the users and more information about each user, that would be a relationship. It wouldn't be a connection. So jobs connects to applications, and through applications we can access the user's information. That's really the difference between a related record and a connected record. So if we go back into the page builder again, under the details page, when we add the table component again, let me zoom back out, you can see we have the records connected to this page and the records related to this page. For our sake, right now we're going to add the applications that are connected directly to this page. There are different scenarios where you'd want to use the actual related table, and maybe we'll go over that in a little bit. For now, let's just go ahead and click Customize, and we'll add the candidate name and when he applied into this page. So I'm going to clear that out and click Save. So now when we refresh the page, you can see for the support rep, we have 1 candidate. His name is candidate user, and he applied on this date and time. For the next steps, I want to take a few minutes and go back and optimize and make a few changes to the app and the builder so we can actually make the data make a little bit more sense. I kind of rushed into it just to give you an example and show you the pages and how to get started with it, but now I just want to organize the data a little bit. So to start with, what we want to do when somebody applies for a job, when they click on the details of a job, they click Apply Now, we should probably be asking them a few more questions to keep track of why they feel they're the right candidate for this job. So back in the builder, we're going to go back into the applications, and we're going to add a few more fields so they could fill out some more information about themselves. So for example, we're already going to have their email. That's going to be the logged in user, so whatever information or email address they use when they sign up for an account on this app will be saved. But we probably want to have some additional information. So suppose, for example, we want to have a long text field, and we want to call this asking them why they're the right fit. So that'll give them a chance to tell us a little bit more about themselves and why they're the right fit for this job. And we can ask any other number of questions. And let's do one more question asking them if they are eligible to work in the United States. Let's add two options, one for yes, one's for no. We'll enable the color badges to make it look a little prettier. We could even add icons if we wanted and make them choose an icon instead of an actual option. So for example, if let's say for yes we want a check mark, let's choose a nice check mark, and let's say for no we want to close, meaning an X. And we'll be able to actually use these icons in the actual form. So now that we've added a few more questions, we can actually ask them to fill this out every time they apply for a job. So whenever they go into the jobs details page, which is this page right here where it says apply now, in this application form we're going to add those fields. So why are you the right fit? Tell us something interesting, and are you eligible to work in the USA? When we save this and refresh this page, now whenever they apply for this job, they'll be able to add this information. We should probably add a title here. And let's refresh again. That looks a lot better. If you can recall, when we added the radio option, we chose icons instead of just text, which was here in the data builder. Are you eligible to work? We chose two icons. Now, if we wanted to make them choose an icon instead of the text, we can go into the details and go into the form which they're choosing that, and inside this field we could show icons, and we could say let's make it 5x and make it inline. So if we refresh this page, see, keep note of how it looks now. There's an option for yes and no. If you refresh, it shows them options like this. Just a way to make it a little more pleasing, also more mobile friendly on some devices. You could do further customizations inside the icons. For example, you could have the text, the options hidden, which is where it says yes and no. We could hide that. So I'm just going to hide that because a check mark and an X are pretty self-explanatory. And that looks pretty nice. Now that that's done, whenever somebody applies for a job, they'll fill all this information out. And whenever the company looks to see the jobs, they'll probably want to see that information. So we need to add those fields here so they can get a better glimpse of who the candidates are. So in the Our Jobs page in the details, we're going to add those fields right inside. And let's refresh. We'll see those columns. We don't have this, we didn't add any information for this user yet. So you're not going to see any data, but the next person that applies will see that information. Okay, so now that we've got the applications making a little bit more sense, we're going to want to move to the next stage, which is to organize the pages a little bit better. So as you can tell, right now we're logged in as an admin, and an admin is probably not going to apply to any jobs. So there's no need in having the jobs page here, as well as the list of companies. All they need to be doing is when they log in, they need to see all of their jobs and then see all the applicants that apply to those jobs. And now we have all the pages together and mixed up. So we have add a job here, which this should only show up for the admins like we are logged in right now, but it should not show for the actual candidates. So what we're going to do is start utilizing the layouts. And layouts are essentially just a way to organize the pages a little better. And we recommend adding the layouts based on roles. So for example, we'll do now a new layout called admins, and we'll move the pages that belong in the admins to the admins layout. So for example, our jobs, that needs to be moved to the layout for admins only. And then add a job is also belonging only to the admins. Okay, so now if we preview these pages, the pages will still work, but when you go to any page that's in the admin layout, you're not going to see the menu. So we want to go back into the admins layout now and add a new menu. So I'm going to go here and add a new component. I'm going to choose to add the menu, and we'll add some items in here. So we'll say the first menu will be our jobs, and this will link to the our jobs page. We can even add an icon if we wanted to. So And we'll add another item here called add job. We could even link this beneath the Our Jobs page. So if you click on the plus icon over here, if you do add job and link it to the add job page, let's also choose an icon for here. And let's save. We want to move. Let me just show you first what's going to happen now. Now you'll see the menu is going to be on the bottom and the page container is on top. What we want to do is actually move the page container below the menu. Let's go ahead and do that and click save. And now you can see our jobs, and you could see here how to add a new job. But if we go back to the regular layout, which will be for the candidates, so let's actually rename this to the candidate layout. If we preview one of these pages, you will see we still have the menus here from the old layout. So we're going to go ahead and let's remove those menu items. We could also remove the default page. And we will remove the Our Jobs and Add Job. Save that. Now we're in the candidate layout. You can see all we see is the companies and the list of jobs available. If we go into the other layout, the admin's layout, you can just see the Our Jobs and the Add a New Job form. We're going to do some more housekeeping and try and make our web app look a little friendlier and nicer. So let's start with two more things right now. First off, you can see this design. We're using a specific design. Just keep in mind that if you go into the settings of your app, under the themes, you can choose all of these different themes, whichever theme you like, and that makes the most sense to you. So for example, by just selecting apply, going back and refreshing the page, you'll have a different theme layout. Another thing to note is that inside of the settings, under domain settings, you could see the app URL and slug to access your app. So for example, if you click on preview job board, it's going to open up the app in a new page and take you to your default landing page. This is the default landing page that comes with every app. We can go ahead and customize this and delete this and kind of start from scratch. What's important to remember is that when you're inside the page builder, inside of every page, there's a preview button on the top and a preview page on the bottom. But the preview job board, what that does is actually open up the default page of your app, not a specific page that you're on. And to know which page will be opened up, you could look on the side where you see the list of pages and you see the one with the star. That means that's the default page. So if you wanted to set a different page as the default page, you would just go into another page, go to the settings, and then here on the default app page, select yes. For our purposes, we're going to create a new page as a default landing page. So I'm going to do that by clicking add page. We'll call this page home page. We won't select a layout and we won't add this to the menu either. Now inside this new page, on the very top of the page, we'd like to add a new menu. And we'll just do a little bit of basic designing and keep it somewhat simple. But at the very top, we're going to want our logo on the menu. So we'll create a new menu item and set it to be an image, and we'll choose an image. Going to select my image, and I'm going to change a little bit of the dimensions. I'll make it more like 120 by 30 or something like that. We'll see how that looks. We want to add another menu item. This time we want it to be a login menu, and we want this to be on the right side of the page. Let's add an icon as well, login icon. And let's click save. So now if we preview this page, you'll see a very basic plain page with just a menu on the top. The reason why we don't see the login menu, even though we've added it, is because we're actually already logged in. So in that case, we can also add in the very top the profile menu and the logout menu. Let's actually just add the logout menu. We'll also format this to the right. We'll say this is log out, and here we will set the log out icon. Let's go ahead and save, refresh our page, and here you can see log out. If we log out, button changes to log in. Looks like the logo at the top is a little bit out of proportion, so we're going to change that and make the height more like 22. Let's see if that looks better. Let's refresh. That looks a little cleaner to me. This is going to be the landing page, and every time somebody comes to our site, this is going to be the page they land on. We want to add some graphics and links to make it easier for our users to navigate, kind of like you would do with any other website. So let's go back in the builder, and here inside this home page, we're going to add a new row and set it to 6 columns. We'll set it to 6 plus 6. So divide the page into 2. On the left-hand side, we'll add an image. And we'll select the image component. And I believe I already have that image in my library, but I can just click upload and select the image. I've selected the image. I'm going to format it to be in the center and auto sized. And then on the right side of that, let's add the logo. Okay, and beneath the logo, we're just going to add a little bit of a title to clarify a little bit what our website is intended to do. So we're going to say "Are you ready to find a career you love?" That sounds catchy enough for me. We'll make it a heading of 2. And let's save. And below that, we'll also add a button to help them get started. So it's a link button. This will go to the sign up page. Make it 2 words. Now if we preview this page again, refresh this page, we have a little bit of a more aesthetically pleasing page. Let's add a few more things on the bottom of this page just to fill it up a little bit. We'll add a separator on the bottom, and then below that we'll add another grid with 1 column, and inside that column we'll add just something basic to say something along the lines of connecting companies with candidates. Let's make that an H1 and center aligned. And finally, we'll do one more at the bottom. We'll add another row with 2 columns. And in this column, we'll do another HTML component. And let's say this will be companies. We'll make this also a heading of 1. And inside that, we'll write get access to the most popular and in-demand candidates searching for jobs right now. Let's make that center aligned. Let's do the same here for companies. We'll do the same here. We'll make this a heading of 1 and center aligned, and we'll also center align this page. Okay, I think if we refresh our page, we have a semi-decent looking landing page for our Tadabase, which is what we're calling this app. I would just do 1 or 2 more things here just to separate it up a little bit, give it a little bit more space. So here I'll add another HTML component. We'll just add a horizontal rule. And let's just drag this right below here. Let's save the page, refresh, and that looks a little bit better. Okay, I think we have a pretty decent flow here. So when users first come into our app, they'll be greeted with this page. If they're already a user, they can click on login at the top and then log in with whatever account they're using. So in our case, we're going to log in with the admin account as if we're a Tadabase admin and sign in. As you can see, one issue we just came across is when we signed in, it routed us back to the same login page. So what we could do to fix that is inside the login page, if we go into the settings and the login page, we could set rules to say if the role is company admin, then route them to our jobs page. Let's add another rule to say if the role is a candidate, then log them to the jobs page. So this way, whoever is logged in will be routed to wherever they're supposed to go. So now if I log out, and let's try this again, I'm going to refresh the page, and I'm going to log in as admin. And it routes us to our jobs page. And here you can see only jobs that belong to Tadabase like we've previously set up. Now we'll continue to verify that everything is working correctly. So assuming we're still logged in as the admin, and we could see all of our candidates, we could see who applied for each job, and we can also add additional jobs, all the job information that's not supposed to be changed. For example, who the company is that added the job, that all happens behind the scenes based on the user that's logged in. So I'm logged in as Tadabase. The job will be saved as a Tadabase job. And I see now another item we're missing here is the logout menu. So back inside the page builder, I want to be able to log out in the admin. So I'm going to go into the menu. I'm going to add a new menu, call it log out. And we'll make this a special link. We'll format, we want it to be on the right side, and it's going to be log out. Now we could also set rules that when somebody logs out, they are routed to specific pages. So let me show you how to do that. So we could say if the role is if the role is an admin, then automatically redirect them to whichever page. So let's say to the home page. If we refresh this page now, you'll have a logout button, and when you click on it, it takes you back to the home page. Now we'll continue to verify to make sure that when we sign up as a candidate and when we log in as a candidate, everything works correctly. So I'm going to go ahead and log back in here, and we'll choose to log in as a candidate. Now we have to also test making sure we could sign up as both users. And here we log in, we can see all the jobs. What we haven't done is in the jobs table, we haven't posted if the job is still available or not. So we should really do that. We could easily do that by going into the data builder and the jobs. And let's add a new radio field called status. And we'll add two options here for available and filled. We'll probably want to add this onto the jobs page so when the candidates see, they can see what's available and what's not. So let's move that column over. Let's save. Let's refresh the page, and now we can see the column. So we haven't actually updated this because this is something that the company admin would want to update, not something that's going to be updated by the candidate. Okay, and finally, when the candidate actually sees a job he wants, for example, this candidate wants to apply for Director of Marketing, he would click here and say why he's a right fit. And now he gets to apply to that job. One more thing we need to do is allow the candidate to see all his jobs that he's already applied to. What we're going to do to make this easier is just add a new page and call it My Applications. So let's go back into the builder, My Applications. We'll choose the layout as the candidate layout. Let's click Save. And then here we're going to add a table, and we're going to say all the records connected to the logged in user. We want to see all the applications that belong to this logged in user. And it's going to be this job applied and all the questions that he's answered. Let's go ahead and save that. And now if we refresh our page, I actually forgot to add the menu to the top of this page. So I'm going to go back into the candidate layout. And here I'm going to add a new page called My Applications. We'll route it to the My Applications page. And we'll add an icon of now let's refresh again, and now we can see My Applications. So now our user can sign up, log in, apply to jobs, and keep track of all of his applications. Okay, so now we're almost done building out our application. We have a way for the admins to add jobs. We have a way for the candidates to log in, to sign up, and also to apply to specific jobs, and also keep track of their applications on a My Applications page. One thing I do remember that we did forget to do was the ability for the signups to also be for admins. What we'll do is we'll quickly set up a new page where the admin can sign up as an admin for their particular company. So we'll call this actually company sign up, and we'll put this inside of the admin's layout. Let's go ahead and save this. And in this page, we'll add a new form. In this page, we'll add a sign up component. And inside the sign up component, we'll set a form record rule to say this record should automatically be assigned the custom role of company admins. So in our new home page, which actually also I'm realizing we haven't set this as a default page. I'm going to go in here and say this is a default page and click save. And let's go ahead and delete this page. We don't need this anymore. So now this new home page will be our default page when somebody loads our app. And on this page, all the way on the bottom by the companies, we'll add a new button. And we'll have it direct them to a company sign up form. So now let's preview this page one more time. And here you can see an option to sign up as a company. We're already logged in, so we can't sign up again, but if you log out, you can sign up as an actual company. Now, in the next video, we're going to look over additional features like using record rules, inline editing, import templates, and tons of other really cool stuff. This first video is really just to get a basic version up and running. So stay tuned for the next video. We'll go over more advanced features, automation, customization, and everything in between. This concludes the first part of our video on how to build a job board. I'm hoping this was helpful in getting you acquainted with Tadabase. If you have any questions or need any additional support, always feel free to reach us at support@tadabase.io. In the next video, we'll go into a lot more details on how to use many more advanced features from inline editing, import templates, Dropbox integrations, and much more. So stay tuned for our next video.